In this weekly video tip, we're going to examine some features in VideoSurgeon that are often overlooked. Hi everyone, this is Jim Todd, and in addition to the commonly used features of slow motion, zooming, and looping, which almost everyone is familiar with, today we're going to look at 5 additional very useful features. So let's go ahead and get right to these. Number 1 is using the export command here to create a new video in which you embed the tempo and the zoom. In other words, if we slow a video down to 50% and we zoom in here, we can export this video and we can create a new video in which these settings of tempo and zoom will be embedded in the new video. So that is number 1. Number 2 is very similar. Again, it is found in the export box. But in addition to exporting the zoom level and the tempo level that we just referenced in item 1, you can also select this box right here. On export, create the number of loops specified in the loop count. And when you do that, VideoSurgeon will make multiple copies. If you specify 5, it specifies 5. If you specify 10, it will create 10. But the point is it will make multiple copies of this particular segment or loop area, and in doing that it will place them back to back, in essence giving you a new file that mimics the repetitive playing that you find when you play within VideoSurgeon. So in other words, it will make 5 or 10 copies of this loop area, place them back to back, and when you play it in a normal media player, it will play that 5 or 10 times as if it's playing repetitively within a loop. Let me just briefly show you where those settings are. So if you have a loop set up, we click the Edit button, and here you'll see the loop count. So this is what I'm talking about. If you change this to 5 and you save it, and then you go to Export, export the current loop, and you select on Export, create number of loops specified in loop count, you will create 5 copies of this video. So that's number 2. Number 3 is using the freeze frame buttons found in VideoSurgeon, these buttons right here in the center part of this bottom area, where you can either scroll forward or backward a second, a quarter of a second, a tenth of a second, or a frame at a time. So these that have negatives before them are going backwards, and these that don't have any symbol or positives are going forward. So we can scroll through a frame at a time. And by doing that, sometimes you're better able just to see things that are useful to you. Oh, and I forgot to mention that while you're doing this, you can zoom in. So if we zoom in and then drag this here to the center, we can now do this frame by frame, and we're zoomed in. So that again is number 3. Let's move to number 4. Number 4 is that you can print a copy of this frame or a series of frames. How do you do that? Well, you go to the print button, and as you can see here, we can print this frame, where if we want to select a series of frames, we could select a series of frames down here, and any of the frames here then that are between this area would be printed, and as you can see, there are 42 of those frames that I've selected. So you can print to a sheet of paper, or you could actually print to file here. And by printing to file, you're essentially going to create an image file like a JPEG. And so that might be useful if you want to send these frames to someone electronically. If you just want to print something and have a hard copy to take to a teacher or to an instructor, then you could actually print them to paper. So that is number 4. The last item, which is item 5, is a relatively new function we've built into the newer version. So if you don't have this version, you might want to download it from our help desk. Go to the download section there. But that's using the export function to create an output as an audio only file. So if you're a musician, you're likely to be interested in this. You have either the entire song or the entire file or a portion of it that you'd like to keep as an audio file, so you can put this on an iPod or on your phone, for example. So if you go to export, in this case we could do either export the entire video or the current loop. It really doesn't matter. I'll select the entire video, and then under Save As type, if we go down to the bottom, you'll see we have PCM audio or .wav files. Here you can create a .wav or an audio file that is perfectly compatible with any audio file that you want to put it on. So that's the fifth and final feature in Video Surgeon that we're going to cover today. All 5 of these are very useful features. Certainly not everyone is going to need or want to use all of them, but I'm willing to bet that there's 1 or more of these that you're probably not using that you're going to be using after you've watched this video, and that's the purpose of the video, is to give you some tips on other features and other functions found in the software. So thanks for watching today.